All Quiet on the Western Front is a powerful film adaptation of Erich Maria Remarque's 1928 novel. The story is based on Remarque's own experiences as a soldier in the Imperial German Army during World War I. The film's title refers to the eerie silence that descended upon the Western Front after the armistice was signed in 1918. At first glance, the phrase "all quiet" might suggest calm and tranquility. However, in the context of the narrative, the title has a much darker connotation. It implies that the supposed serenity and stillness on the front lines is illusory, and that the war has left an indelible mark on the soldiers who fought in it. Despite the war's end, the soldiers continue to be haunted by the anguish and destruction they experienced. The silence that settles over the battlefield serves as a reminder of the immense loss of life and irreversible harm caused by the conflict. The title also underscores the feeling of worthlessness that many soldiers experience in the face of such overwhelming violence. It suggests that, despite the chaos and confusion of battle, there would be no significant change or progress on the Western Front. For the soldiers, the war seems never-ending, taking a heavy toll on their physical and mental well-being. With no clear end in sight, they are left feeling despondent and hopeless. The film is a poignant and moving portrayal of the human cost of war and its enduring legacy. The film, All Quiet on the Western Front, is set in Germany during the latter part of World War I in 1917. The Imperial German Army was recruiting young and brave men to become heroes in the war that was ravaging Europe. Paul Bäumer, a 17-year-old high school student, eagerly joins the army alongside three of his friends. They were filled with youthful excitement, envisioning themselves as brave soldiers charging across the battlefield, conquering the enemy and being hailed as heroes. The German army's top command brainwashed them with patriotic speeches and intense propaganda, instilling in them dreams of victory and glory. But it wasn't long before their excitement turned into fear as they faced the realities of war. The sky quickly turned to smoke and dust, surrounded by gunshots and the screams of the injured and dead. They realized that the other young men outside enemy lines were just like them, fighting a war that had been imposed on them. Paul and his friends understood that they were merely sacrificial lambs, sent to die for a cause they didn't completely comprehend. They were compelled to fight wars that looked pointless and terrible, while the country's decision-makers and senior command officials remained silent, calm, and serene. Paul Bäumer found himself fighting not only the enemy but also his own inner demons as he fought his way through the conflict. He battled with the realization that the patriotic speeches and propaganda he had been fed were all lies, and that the war he was fighting was one of devastation and destruction, rather than honor and glory. Paul witnessed the genuine cost of war, the loss of innocence, the shattered hopes, and the understanding that, in the end, he was nothing but a pawn in a much larger game. All Quiet on the Western Front is a gut-wrenching film with captivating war sequences that portrays the horrors of war and the tragic toll it takes on the human spirit, leaving its viewers on the edge of their seats the entire time. The screenplay's use of repetition is a symbolic representation of the never-ending cycle of war and death, which still exists today. The opening scene of the film portrays the horror of trench warfare, where dead bodies lay scattered in the trenches. Days later, a group of young soldiers eagerly wait in line to receive their uniforms and boots, unaware of the dark history behind them. The garments they were about to don had been through a cycle of death, washing, and reuse, symbolizing the devaluation of human life in the face of war. The tattered uniforms and worn-out boots spoke of the sacrifice of those who had gone before them, their names and faces lost in the annals of history. This cycle of war and death is a never-ending loop that is yet to be broken, an eternal reminder of the futility of war. The government officials who oversaw the distribution of the uniforms were more concerned with the cost of replacing them than with the value of the lives they represented. The name tags of the deceased soldiers were ripped apart and thrown away, and the soldiers were seen as mere pawns in a larger game, their lives sacrificed for political gain. As the new soldiers put on their uniforms and laced up their boots, they did so with a sense of pride and duty, but they also unknowingly donned the legacy of those who had gone before them, whose sacrifice had paved the way for their own. The film portrays a world of death and destruction surrounding Paul Bäumer and his fellow comrades. However, amidst the chaos, there are subtle reminders of the value of human life. One such reminder is a goose fiercely guarded by a farmer. For Paul and his fellow Kaczynski, stealing the goose becomes an obsession, a way to add flavor to their otherwise drab existence. Their desperation for something as basic as food to satisfy their hunger during the war leads them to risk their lives for a simple taste of anything nice, reflecting the soldiers' plight in war. However, the goose's significance extends beyond a fleeting moment of joy. It serves as a reminder that in times of war, even the smallest details can take on tremendous significance. The goose is better safeguarded and appreciated than a human life, making a striking criticism of war's ridiculousness. It also validates the expression, a wild goose chase, which denotes a fruitless quest, a search for something that is ultimately unachievable. History has shown that seemingly insignificant acts can trigger the greatest tragic events. Consider the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914. It was only one man's death, but it initiated a chain of events that lead to one of the deadliest wars in human history. As nations prepared for conflict, it must have appeared to many like they were starting on a wild goose chase. Yet, the battle waged on, taking millions of lives in the process. It was a heartbreaking reminder that even seemingly trivial actions can have disastrous repercussions. As the film progresses, the insanity of war becomes painfully clear. The characters' patriotism and service are worthless as they battle and die in what appears to be an endless cycle of carnage. Kaczynski's death serves as a somber reminder of the cost of such service. The clever foreshadowing of his death during the feast on the stolen goose lends an ironic twist to the issue. The mocking remark about Kaczynski being killed by the farmer turns out to be a tragic truth. His death is a pointless waste of a life, not a heroic sacrifice. In a realistic manner, the film exposes the dehumanizing results of war. The soldiers, numb to the horrors around them, die for no apparent cause, turning every moment into a possible farewell. Their sacrifice and service are made useless in the end by the senseless bloodshed they witness. The film is a sobering reminder that war offers nothing but misery and suffering, with no clear victor. The dehumanizing effects of war, as portrayed in the film, reveal the true cost of war and highlight the importance of finding alternative solutions to conflict. The creators of the film have skillfully demonstrated a stark contrast between two universes. We see the grim realities of war on the battlefield, where men struggle for survival with their final breaths, while decision-makers and bureaucrats live opulent lives far from danger and filth. Throughout the film, the camera pans over the barren landscape and filthy trenches, where death and destruction have become the norm. Then we are transported to a luxurious banquet hall where a diplomat in his suit and shiny shoes and high-ranking government officials sit in comfortable chairs, sipping fine wine and feasting on exotic delicacies. They appear to be ignorant to the chaos and carnage taking place beyond their cocoon of luxury. The disparity between the two worlds could not be more apparent. The soldiers battle for survival, while the leaders live extravagantly. As the story progresses, we watch the soldiers battling to survive in a conflict that appears to have no end in sight. They go for days without food, water, or rest, while the leaders make life or death decisions without ever witnessing the reality of the battlefield. The unfairness of this disparity is palpable, and it numbs the audience. The juxtaposition of these two realities lends a level of intricacy to the story that is both compelling and moving. It emphasizes the human cost of conflict as well as the gap between those who make decisions and those who must live with the results. The film highlights the consequences of the leader's actions, revealing how the decisions of a few can have a profound impact on the many who must suffer the consequences. It is a powerful reminder of the importance of empathy and understanding in conflict resolution and the need for leaders to be accountable for the decisions they make. Despite the devastation and loss of life in the First World War, humanity failed to learn its lesson. The Second World War broke out just 2 decades later, unleashing an even greater wave of death and suffering. Nevertheless, the cycle continued, with civil wars and conflicts erupting all over the world, each one more deadly than the last. The recent crisis between Russia and Ukraine was a grim reminder of this never-ending cycle of bloodshed. Innocent lives were sacrificed as nations fought for power and resources in a seemingly endless cycle of aggression and retribution. It was a scary thought, one that made us question the fundamental nature of humanity. Despite our technological and scientific advancements, it seemed that we were doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past, trapped in an endless cycle of destruction and despair. Yet, even in the face of this grim reality, there was a glimmer of hope. As long as there were those who desired peace and understanding, there would always be a possibility for mankind to break free from the chains of history and build a brighter future for all. Thank you for watching our review, and we hope you enjoyed our analysis of this powerful and thought-provoking film. Let us know your perception of the film in the comments and which other films you would like to see us review in the future. And please hit the like, share, and subscribe button to show your support and encourage us to make more great content like this. We appreciate your feedback and look forward to hearing your thoughts on this and other films. Until next time, happy viewing!